Okay, so here's the CLEF story. Looking at the program, I thought this is what the title should have been, CLEF, Lessons Learned, Future Directions, but I think it's a little bit more what we did okay and what we could have done better. Most of you here know what the objectives of CLEF were. Very simply, they were to stimulate the development of multilingual IR systems, in particular, but not only for European languages, to create a very strong community around this topic, and to construct publicly available test suites. And how did we do this? By conducting the annual evaluation campaigns, and by designing the right between inverted commas, the right kind of tracks and tasks. And our objective has always been to develop truly multilingual, multimodal systems. And as you know, over the years, we've done this by introducing new tracks, new tasks, in order to stimulate the development of this kind of system. So what have our achievements been? Well, if I try to list our main achievements, I would put probably at the top of the list the creation of a very active, multidisciplinary international research community. And I would say that we've investigated some of the really core issues in the multilingual information access area, the development of multiple language processing tools, creation of a lot of important linguistic resources, the implementation of suitable retrieval models for cross-language work, and also, we've been able to show over the years some significant improvements in the performance of our systems. But one of the very important things, one of our important achievements, I think, has been the creation of some very valuable test collections in diverse media for a large number of European languages. And I thought this was the topic I would focus on now. So our initial hypothesis when we set up CLEF was that English isn't really the only language in the world. Languages are not all the same. Different languages require different strategies, and I'm sorry about these slides. And the growth of IR research is actually constrained by overfocus on English, and it's meant to be a provocation. So how do we intend to demonstrate this? By providing test facilities for non-English, starting with the European languages, and also by involving, as far as possible, European IR groups in the development of test collections, because one of our aims was really to build up a strong European IR research community. So our starting point was really in a track at Trek from 97 to 99, the CLEAR track, and we had quite small test collections in just four languages: English, French, German, and Italian. And we were organizing just monolingual and what we called bilingual tasks on these test collections. So when we started up CLEF in 2000, our goal was to create very large test collections in the different languages, test collections that were representative of different European language families, and to set up not just mono and bilingual tasks, but also multilingual retrieval tasks. And when we reached our 10-year milestone in CLEF 2009, what we had achieved, we had reusable large test collections for 13 European languages for four different language families: Romance, Germanic, Slavic, and the Ugro-Finnic families. We had topics in many additional languages, and we also had set up a large number of mono, bilingual, and multilingual tasks. So on this slide, you can see how the test collection over the years has grown and how we've added new languages more or less every year. This slide shows you that it hasn't really been a casual development. It's been really a well thought out and deliberate development. We have we focus very much, the idea, an underlying idea was that in order to have a good, strong cross-language system, you first needed to have strong monolingual systems. So we encourage monolingual work on, as we brought in new languages, we encourage monolingual, we set up monolingual tasks, we encouraged monolingual work, and then we gradually added bilingual tasks, multilingual tasks, gradually offering both fairly easy tasks for newcomers to CLEF, but also continuously more advanced and more difficult tasks in order to promote and stimulate the development of strong, truly multilingual systems. So by doing this, we permitted the investigation of these core issues in multilingual information access. If you look at the CLEF literature, you can see that we have really encouraged the development of the many different multiple language processing tools, stemmers, analyzers. There's been a creation of a lot of linguistic resources around CLEF and a number of different algorithms for teaching. And we can demonstrate some improvements in the performance in systems. If I can just cite the fact that when we started off in TREC in '97, the best cross-language system for English, with English queries working on French documents or on German documents, was achieving around about 50% of the best monolingual performance. In CLEF now, what we can expect for cross-language systems, the best systems are producing around 90% of the best monolingual system. So how did we, I really apologize for these slides, and I will talk to Nicola if he's around, because he promised me that they would transfer brilliantly. So anyhow, how did we do this? We adapted Cranfield to the multilingual context. So the first thing that for every target language that we introduced, we had to be sure that we had a sufficient number of participants, because if you only have one or two participants submitting runs for a particular collection, you really are not going to get reliable results. We worked on topic creation and relevance assessment in a distributed setting. We had native speakers responsible for language-specific activities. Topics were created on the basis of the collections. We were obliged to use the same topics for all our target collections, for all our tasks. This meant there was a considerable amount of hard work in setting up creating the topics for the collections and ensuring that these topics would hit relevant documents in all the collections we used. We had a set of specific criteria for pool construction. In addition to the usual criteria adopted in TREC, we had additional criteria for working on languages, separate languages, because while the pools, we had separate pool for each language, target language collection, we had many different topic languages submitting queries to these pools. So we had to create a specific criteria for the pool construction. And there had to be a very strict control. As the relevance assessment process was in a distributed setting, we had to have a very strict control over the relevance assessment. So really, this leads us to a number of discussion points. Really, the questions that we should be asking now, how stable and reusable really are these CLEF multilingual test collections? Is our style of artificial topic creation the best way to go? But we always assumed binary relevance. Is that a reasonable assumption? How good was our pooling? Have we been using the most appropriate performance measures? Should we have been adopting new test collection creation methodologies? One thing I want to say, these are all open questions. What we do have with the direct system, we have all our test collections are now available for experiments, for studies, for investigation, in order the test collections are available, the runs are available, the queries are available, the pools are available. You can all access the direct system and get this knowledge and perform your own analysis to test these questions. So very quickly, what else do I think we should have been doing? Well, my main question was, did we really over-focus on system performance, and did we neglect the user? And this, I think, has been a theme during the presentations so far in this conference, that we should start thinking more about the user. We did do some work with the user, both in iCLE and also in LogCLE, but really, has it been sufficient? And one very interesting but small experiment we did was in CLE 2006. We did a real-time experiment for question answering. We set up, groups brought their own systems. The systems performance was compared not just on how good the ranking was, but how fast the system was, how easy to use the interface was. This is the kind of experiment I wish we'd been able to set up more often. So very quickly, suggestions for future directions. Well, I think we should be working on new methodologies for test collection creation. We need more testing and more exploitation of the test collections. We need many more user-oriented studies. We need, in particular, to be studying user requirements when searching collections in unknown or little-known languages. We need more investigation of user-oriented measures. I would really have liked to have encouraged the demos of running systems at our workshops. And finally, I think we should have been thinking more about multicultural studies. One thing I always wanted to do, but I wasn't successful in organizing, was to set up some CLE, FIRE, NTCI, TREC, coordinated user studies to really study how users in different culture, not only different multilingual settings, but different cultural settings actually use the systems. And I'll finish there.